Here are my note cards for this speech. Has money corrupted our souls so much where we want to pay student athletes to play a game they love for a school they have the honor and privilege to attend? In today's day and age, it seems some people think so, but I, Patrick Zenon, will do my best to persuade you that student athletes should remain unpaid. To begin, I would like to talk about the problems that paying student athletes would cause in the NCAA. You then bring agents into play who would help support the player financially throughout his or her college career, eventually just for their own personal financial gain by exploiting the young, vulnerable player for their skills. The next thing is cheating. Cheating happens today in the NCAA, unfortunately. People like Johnny Manziel and Reggie Bush are just two of many examples of student athletes who have been caught and punished. Reggie Bush, for example, was forced to surrender his Heisman Trophy in 2012 that he had earned in 2005. And by paying the student athletes, you then give them more of an incentive to cheat to remain at the proper GPA, because not only if they did not maintain the proper GPA, not only would they miss games, but they would also miss out on their paychecks. Also, recruiting would be a whole different ballgame. It would not be about which school the player wants to attend because of the coaches, the facilities, and the program, but rather it would be about which school would offer the player more money, and it would turn into a bidding competition between the big schools. All this information above I got from a Wall Street Journal article written by Mark Emmert, labeled "Paying Athletes is a Terrible Idea." The next thing I would like to talk about how is people think student athletes should be paid because there are more employees than student athlete. But in an article written by Kenneth Cooper in the Issues of Higher Education, Tommy A. Maker, a former Duke basketball star, states, "I never once felt like I was an employee at Duke University. I had the chance to have my education paid for at an amazing school." And in this same article, Willie Hicks Jr., the first black quarterback at Boston College, stated that he was blessed to have been able to attend Boston College and not pay for books and tuition. Some people also think that students can't be successful students as well as athletes because of all the time put into being an athlete. But in the Wall Street article, as stated above, Emmert also states that student athletes graduate at a higher rate than their counterparts, proving that they can be both successful students and athletes. Next, I would like to talk about the incentives college athletes already receive. Most players go to school on a scholarship, giving them a huge advantage of life when they leave school debt-free. In a study done by the Institute for College Access and Success, they state that the average student finishes a 4-year school with a debt of $30,000. So, as the NCAA president stated in an interview with CNBC, an all-expense paid-for education is a much better incentive than a paycheck for a few years. I also have an example that I got off the Duke website of how much it is to attend Duke for 1 year. The tuition is about $45,000, room and board is another $6,500, and books and personal expenses estimates around $4,000. So for 1 year, the total is about $61,500, which most student athletes at Duke go for free. Student athletes also receive media exposure, making them public figures and very popular people. And they also, from media exposure, have a free 4-year audition to prove their talents to play at the next level. But also in the CNBC interview, the NCAA president states that under 100 out of 5,000 NCAA basketball players make the pros, so the free, all-expense paid-for education is much more important than a paycheck for a few years. And lastly, I would like to talk about how not all schools make a profit from their sports, but only the big Division I powerhouse schools, for example, Texas, Syracuse, Michigan, USC. The smaller Division II, Division III schools do not make a profit So if you paid student athletes, those schools would suffer and have to find money from other ways of their university to finance and pay for their players. And also in the big Division I schools, it is more the sports like men's basketball and men's football that are more lucrative and bring in more money for the college. So in turn, they would have to use this money to help pay less lucrative sport athletes such as swimmers, tennis players, etc. Same goes for the women in their sport programs. Not that the women don't deserve it, but their sports do not bring in as much crowds nor as much revenue as the men's. So you would also have to find another mean to pay these athletes to make it fair all across the board. So to conclude my speech, I want you to think about this subject a little bit. It is a very touchy subject that has been talked about year after year, every year, the two sides clashing heads whether or not they should be paid. But I hope I helped persuade you that they should remain unpaid for the sake of the NCAA and how it has always ran. And it has been a great program, and I hope to see great competition for years to come. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my speech, and have a nice day.